evening, everyone, and welcome to the Goleta City Council meeting of April 21st, 2026. If you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We could do roll call.
Councilmember Reyes Martin.
Here.
Councilmember Kiriakou.
Here.
Councilmember Kasdan. Here. Mayor Pro Tempore Smith.
Here.
And Mayor Prodi.
Here. Okay, Mr. Rosen, do we have a report from closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. So for the one closed session item read into the record earlier this evening, there is no reportable action.
Thank you. Okay, if we could have our interpreters come up, please, and introduce themselves.
Yes, good afternoon. It's just to let you know that we have interpretation available for those of you who want to hear this event in Spanish. So we have devices like this. If you want to hear all this meeting in Spanish, just raise your hand and we'll hand you one of these devices. Solo buenas tardes, mi nombre es Hugo Santos, soy intérprete de inglés a español. Si usted quiere escuchar este evento en español, tenemos estos dispositivos para que así lo pueda hacer. Solo levante la mano para que le podamos pasar uno y pueda escuchar toda la sesión en español. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, public forum. Now is the time for anybody to speak on anything that's not on our agenda and pertinent to our jurisdiction. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do have one in-person speaker slip for Charles Hughes. Those of you on the Zoom webinar, please use the raised hand icon to speak to a non-agenda item. Charles Hughes will be our first speaker.
Hello, council members, Mayor. Nice to see you again after Wednesday. I'd like to speak again about the Senior Center. And I'd like to read from a few things from it's from the National Council on Aging again. The first part of this is, senior centers provide a social outlet where older adults can meet peers, form new friends, and engage in meaningful conversations. Regular social interaction can boost mental health and stave off feelings of loneliness and depression. So if you're serious about having a senior center, seniors do have exercise needs. That's very important for seniors, maybe the most important, but also having a social outlet, not being isolated. Seniors have a hard time getting around. It's really important. But there's several, the Goleta Senior Lobby, along with the other rooms at the Senior Center, has the potential to be a social hub, providing a great opportunity for seniors to interact with peers. There's several kind of drawbacks at the community center for that. Most of just little things, can be changed. Would probably make a huge difference. But one of the larger little things is heating. It gets cold. I know it's a problem. They keep the doors. You have to have a policy, keep the outside doors open all the time. The senior lobby, the door is always half open. I guess that's the policy for that door. And the thing is, the heater blows out lots of heat. Do I still have time?
You still can go, yes.
Okay,
please
do. There needs to be a discussion, brainstorming about how to, because what's happening is when it gets cold, the members say, it's getting kind of cold in here, and the person in charge says, well, if I turn the heat on, somebody would complain about it being too hot. And the heat does blow out fast when it blows out. So during the night, 65 degrees is what it's set for. And it's very seldom above 68 degrees. And for seniors over the age of 70, that's really cool. That's too cold. I got 20 seconds on. So anyways, it just needs to be a discussion. I mean, we're getting into warmer weather now, but by next fall, it's be a good idea to have all planned out. Should be in somebody's job description to make sure the temperature is a decent temperature, a comfortable temperature. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for letting us know. Thank you.
I have no more speakers for public forum,
Okay,
Madam Mayor.
great. Okay, amendments or adjustments to our agenda? City Manager,
I don't have any, but I can move right to city manager report if you like, Madam
please
Mayor.
do.
I just have a couple announcements of upcoming events, but before I do that, acknowledge a previous event. We had our Community State of the City last Wednesday at the Goleta Community Center. It was a great event. And in case you weren't there, we actually have a summary video that is going to be released tomorrow, and we'll give you a sneak preview right now. So cue it up, please, Mr. Clerk.
Excited that you're here for the Goleta's biggest night of the year, the 2026 Goleta Community State of the City. I would like to introduce a woman who really at this point needs no introduction, our Mayor, Paula Perotti.
Good government is not a monologue, it's a dialogue. Tonight, relying on my colleagues and city manager illustrates another reason I confidently say our city is strong.
I'm so proud of what we've achieved together, and I'm grateful to our city staff, our public safety partners, community organizations, and to all of you, our residents, for your ongoing support and engagement. Together, we will continue building a safer, healthier, and more sustainable Goleta. Thank you.
And speaking of talent, we want to thank our keyboardist tonight. He's a junior at Dos Pueblos High School, Tyler McCutcheon. We also want to thank the Dos Pueblos High School Jazz Band for performing in the gazebo before the event.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight about two important topics, housing and homelessness. It will be a challenging year ahead, but there are real opportunities to provide housing that benefits the community, and working together we can get it.
To our residents, visitors, and our local businesses, I say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your patience. Across our community, you can see the results of a city that is investing seriously in its future, and it is leading us towards a safer, more connected, and more resilient Goleta.
The city is investing in major community events, and these initiatives directly support small businesses, increase visibility, and help and attract local employees.
The mayor's favorite part of the night, our Q&A segment.
The council has made it very clear in terms of investments to ensure that city staff is trained and aware of what to do if a situation would arise.
All of these efforts reflect our shared commitment to maintaining the quality of life that makes Goleta such a special place to live, work, and play. So thank you for being part of what makes Goleta strong and connected together.
We're so grateful, though, that you showed up in person tonight and took time out to be here with us. Thank you so much, and have a great night, everybody. Thank you for caring about where you live.
Love that. Very nice.
Nicely done. Thank you, Ms. Hubert. So if you like that event, that looked like a lot of fun, right?
Yes,
At the
and I
community
want to
center.
thank my council colleagues,
Please.
staff, and the public for all the work put into it and being part of it. You guys all did such a great job. It was a new idea to have all of us speak. I loved it. I thought it was great. Thank you.
Agreed. So we have 2 more events coming up at the community center, and they'll be just as fun. So tomorrow night, Wednesday, from 5:30 to 7, we are having Street Talk. This is a transportation open house sponsored by our Public Works Department. The idea is to get people there to talk about transportation, circulation. If you're a cyclist, we want you to attend. If you're a pedestrian, if you are someone who drives a car, rides a bus, if you do all 4, the purpose of this is to have an open house, engage with staff, and provide input to us so that we can work on our circulation strategies and make Goleta a safer place to circulate. So that's happening 5:30 to 7 tomorrow night at the community center. It'll probably look a lot like what you just saw. We're hoping for that many people. And then the next day, Thursday, at the community center from 10 to 1 is the annual Senior Expo. And this event seems to be getting just larger and larger. Last year I attended, and I was just blown away how many people were there. So we are expecting quite a big crowd this year. And so hopefully we get people that went to all 3 events. Maybe we should have offered a prize if you went to the State of the City, Street Talk, and the Senior Expo. We'll see how many people do all 3. And that's all I have tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Manager, how many people responded to the survey?
Thank you. Yes. So in advance of Street Talk, in leading up to it, we determined that we should go out and do a survey online prior to, because that would obviously help inform us and prepare Public Works for how to put on the open house and be ready. And we received over 500 people who responded to that survey. So it was a lot. I think Public Works staff is still deciphering all the comments. They're starting to see themes, and that will be part of the engagement that they encourage at the open house tomorrow night. But eventually, all the results of that will come back to the council when they do their annual work plan, and they'll be able to answer more questions then about kind of what came out of the survey. But over 500 people did that survey.
Great. Well, thank you. Okay, moving on to consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That will be item A1, acceptance of the February 2026 investment transaction report. Item A2, single audit report for fiscal year ended June 30, 2025. Item A3, authorization to purchase universal play equipment at Stowe Grove Park. Item A4, authorization to advertise for bids for the 2026 residential resurfacing and arterial pavement projects. Item A5, award construction management, inspection, and materials testing contract to Unico Engineering, Inc. for the Cathedral Oaks Road and Cribwell Project Phase 1 and 2. And item A6, adoption of Goleta train station policies and procedures.
Thank you. Council wish to pull any item. Councilmember Luz Reyes-Martin?
Thank you. I have just brief comments on A3 and A4.
A3 and A4. Anybody else?
I also have some questions and comments for A4.
I just have some comments on A6.
A6. Okay.
And yeah, I'll go with A3 and A4. Also.
Okay. Good. Okay.
I
So.
felt left out.
Great. I'll start with Councilmember Reyes-Martin on A3 and A4.
Thank you. So A3 is the authorization to purchase the universal play equipment at Stowe Grove Park. And I just wanted to highlight what a great milestone this is, that we're actually purchasing the playground equipment. I know that our whole Goleta community has been eagerly awaiting the improvements at this park. So I just wanted to highlight this and say thank you. Thank you to Ms. Plummer and your whole team, and we're really excited for this.
Okay. Do we have any speakers for A3? And could you read what A3 is?
Yes, item A3 is authorization to purchase universal play equipment at Stowe Grove Park. If you'd like to speak to this item, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. Seeing none.
Okay.
Mayor.
So an A4.
Councilmember Cousin, did you have any comments on 8:30 before I move to?
He said, A4.
No, I also,
A6,
I
no.
said, no, it doesn't matter. I guess,
Forgot what.
would you, for Ms. Plummer, would you like to show? You know, I have the same thing, the same observation, that it's an exciting milestone, and is this, would you like the opportunity to present? Is it queued up, that people could show the pictures and so forth? You know, every opportunity we have to preen seems nice.
Thank you, Councilmember Kasdan. Members of the council, it is a very exciting night. However, unfortunately, I do not have the information queued up. It is available online in the packet, some great renderings, and we have taken the information to the Parks and Recreation Commission, so it is available in those meetings as well. It is an exciting project. It's exciting equipment, and we're purchasing the equipment in advance because of the time required for manufacturing, so it'll be available and ready to install as we are in construction. So thank you very much for your support, and we're thrilled.
I really like, I mean, not only providing special need, equipment for Universal, for those with special needs, but also having different qualities to the different parks so that, you know, people might deliberately choose this park versus that park, that are not just homogeneous. So anyway, I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, A4.
And
Can we read that
yes,
with
thank you.
A4?
Yes, Mayor, that's item A4, authorization to advertise for bids for the 2026 residential resurfacing and arterial pavement projects.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, I'm asked often, you know, what's next for our pavement projects. So I'm hoping that we could potentially show the map of what's planned for 2026 or the bids that we're going out for. And if not, then I think if we could direct the community for where they could find it on their website.
I think I see Mr. Valdez going over there to queue it up. So there were, just for the public, there are 2 maps attached to the staff report, and they indicate treatments on certain streets for the paving project for next fiscal year. So hopefully, as I'm buying a little time, Mr. Valdez can queue those up, and if there's any questions for Nina, she is here to answer those.
Or if Ms. Bolna wants to give us some of the highlights while we get that.
Council Member Reyes-Martin, I also want to add that we have updated our 5-year map, which is available on the website. So I know we get a lot of questions about what's next. So now we've laid that out. This shows the 2026 arterial pavement project. So we're doing portions of Calle Real, and then the additive alternates are Cathedral Oaks, portions of Cathedral Oaks, and then Fairview. I can't see very well, so if I got it wrong, sorry. And then we're also doing the prep work in the residential area. So the residential area is scheduled to get a Cape Seal. So you see the dark blue, that's the base bid, and then the additive alternates are kind of dashed. So all the prep work is scheduled to go with the arterial pavement project because the prep work is very similar to the pavement project that we're doing on the arterial streets. So we'll get the economy of scale and better costs, hopefully.
Thank you. And so what we're doing tonight is authorizing the bids. When do you expect to be back with an award of contract?
I think we put that we'll be back in award in early 2027. So we're going to be out to bid at the end of this at the end of this year, and we're going to bid the projects together because that'll help us determine what additive alternates we can do because they go side by side, hand in hand.
Great.
And then this shows the residential pavement area. This is scheduled for a Cape Seal. So the dark green colors are the base bid items, and the lighter green are additive alternates that we will be bidding as well.
Great. Thank you so much for this work. I know there's a lot of excitement for seeing more of this work done.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you also have a question?
Yes, and then just a brief follow-up. So once we have more bidding information, then the council will have the opportunity to potentially to look at if we're able to incorporate some of these alternatives. Is that correct?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith, that's correct, and we'll provide what we recommend to council based on the funding and what the bids come in at. And I'd just like to add that this last year's project, we were able to do 99% of all the additive alternates that we've done in the past years because we got that extra funding. So we're hoping that something like that may occur. And the beauty of this is that we have everything designed. So whenever we have funding available, we can keep adding these in as additive alternates until we get the funding that we need.
Great, thank you. That's helpful. And I wanted to thank staff for adding Evergreen for some of that prep work on the arterial. I know we've heard from some residents about that section, so I'm glad we were able to include that on the base bid on the arterial section, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for the other portion as well. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Caston.
Yeah, so if some of those alternative ones or alternate ones don't, if for some reason it didn't get funded, are they at the top of the queue, therefore, for the coming year, or most likely to be the?
Councilmember Kasdan, they're not at the top of the queue. We would just keep trying to fit it in where funding allows.
But each year that you reevaluate the projects, right? The pavement projects and.
What we've done is we've developed the 5-year because it creates efficiencies, so we can start designing sooner than we have in previous projects. So by doing that, we want to keep pace with those. So all these projects will be designed and all the added alternates will be designed. So depending on what we get done this year, we can add it to next year's and just keep going and going.
Okay, so those folks who, for instance, have an alternate, they should feel pretty confident that it's either going to come with this batch or shortly, potentially after that?
If funding's available.
Okay, I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Do we have any speakers? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to follow up on the notion of queuing and what's in the queue, because I think there's some streets that are identified as alternates in prior years that have not yet been funded, and perhaps we're looking for funding. And I just wanted to know, is one of the criteria that you look at in addition to funding is just maybe, are there opportunities for economies of scale with other projects, other work happening in the city? What are those things that we look at as well?
So Councilmember Kiriaka, we do look at all of those items. We also look at proximity. Sometimes these streets are closer together, so the contractor only has to mobilize this one area, so it'll save us money. So we look at every angle that's possible.
Okay,
to
thank
do
you.
that.
Do we have any public speakers?
Yes, any member of the public who wishes to speak to item A4, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. Seeing none, Mayor.
Okay, then moving on to A6.
That's item A6. And that is adoption of the Goleta train station policies and procedures.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kiriako, you wanted to pull this one? Sure.
I just wanted to acknowledge this is just another example of progress as promised and keeping our promises. We have a lot of people that have been eagerly awaiting this project. We have a big commuter rail employer forum happening tomorrow, so I just wanted to signpost that for folks. But this is really just another step in preparing ourselves to be open for business when construction is completed, and just think it's just another great milestone for our city, and I'm just really proud of our staff and everyone that's been involved in this project, and I want to thank our federal and state funding partners and our partners at SBCAG as well. Thank you.
And do we have any speakers for this item?
No speaker slips. For those of you on the Zoom webinar, please use the raised hand icon if you'd like to speak to item A6. Seeing none, Mayor.
Okay. So I'm guessing we should ask if there's any speakers for any of the other items that weren't pulled.
Yes, and that would be item A1, item A2, and item A5. If you wish to speak to those items, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. Seeing none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion. Somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
I'll happy to second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Council members, please lock in your votes. Councilmember Reyes-Martin.
Aye.
Councilmember Kiriako.
Aye.
Councilmember Kasdan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tempore Smith.
Yes.
And Mayor Perotti.
Aye. Ayes have it. Okay. Moving on to presentations.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. That's item B1, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, proclaiming the month of April 2026 as Earth Month in the City of Goleta.
And I've asked Councilmember Luz Reyes Martin to make this presentation.
All right, I always never know where to stand up here. It's like, where's the best place?
Earth Day, Earth Month.
I'm waiting for the camera to adjust up there. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Goleta. I'm looking for Kelly. Is it okay to stand here? I forget where you stand.
I think
There we
Marcos
go.
is here.
Thank you. All right. I'm so pleased to get to read this proclamation and present it to you all. So a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, proclaiming the month of April 2026 as Earth Month in the City of Goleta. Whereas Earth Day was first celebrated on April 22nd, 1970, and today is recognized annually throughout the month of April to encourage us to deepen our understanding of the natural environment and recommit to protecting our planet through individual and collective actions. And whereas the City of Goleta is committed to being a resilient and sustainable community, recognizing that a healthy environment is vital to the current and future well-being of our residents, businesses, and local ecosystems. And whereas the city's environmental initiative, Go Green Goleta, serves as a genuine call to action, reminding us that our tomorrow is today and that the needs of our environment are imminent, and we must act now to create a brighter future. And whereas the city's efforts to preserve native species, restore ecosystems, protect pollinator habitats, and expand green infrastructure within the city are a core part of our local commitment to climate resilience. And whereas the city is actively taking steps to protect our environment by encouraging everyday sustainability through the 6 core pillars of the Go Green Goleta initiative, and whereas the city's diverse ecosystems are not only ecologically valuable, but also essential to our local community's health, cultural heritage, climate resilience, and economy, providing clean air and water, protecting from erosion and wildfire, and opportunities for outdoor recreation and education. And whereas the timeless saying goes, little drops of water make the mighty ocean, reminding us that seemingly small, everyday efforts, when multiplied across the entire Goodland community, lead to substantial and lasting positive impacts. And whereas our acknowledgement of Earth Month each April serves as an annual reminder of the need for ongoing environmental stewardship, climate action, and conservation, as we are all stewards and beneficiaries of the earth. And whereas all residents are urged to explore the Go Green Goleta programs, adopt sustainable practices in their daily lives, and join our collective effort to preserve our beautiful earth for generations to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this 21st day of April 2026, the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, does hereby proclaim the month of April 2026 as Earth Month. Approved today and signed by Mayor Paula Perotti. Thank you. And I would welcome any comments you may have, and then we'll take a picture. Or do we want to do pictures first? Pictures first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right around this side. Then we'll yeah, do two.
I think they will.
Okay. There we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect. And then we do a big group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Full council.
No, we'll come over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna need a bigger chamber.
Okay, yeah, let's squeeze it in a little bit.
Getting used to it.
Okay, perfect. The mic is on. Okay. Here we go. Ready? Big smiles. 1, 2, 3.
Great. I'll start, and I know others are here. Thank you, Mayor Perotti and Goleta City Council members. My name is Helene Schneider. I have the honor of serving as the Board President of Trustees for the Santa Barbara Botanic Garden, and I know we have representation here from the Land Trust of Santa Barbara County and the Fire Safe Council, and they may want to speak separately. I want to acknowledge Steve Winhanger, our Executive Director of the Botanic Garden. Earth Month, we were watching Artemis, and so we all saw that we're all in one place, right? We have one Earth, and a little closer to home, though. I really appreciate this proclamation to be able to talk about what we can each do each and every day to promote sustainability, resiliency, fire safety, water conservation, native plants. At the Botanic Garden, as you may know, we are celebrating our centennial. You only turn 100 once, if at all, and so we're celebrating all year round, and this is a really wonderful way to be able to acknowledge that. We think about our founders at the Botanic Garden who 90 years ago planted those redwood trees that we so majestically love right now, and think about the long-term planning that takes. And I know local government does a lot of long-term planning, so we encourage you to come to us. There's over 40 organizations that have come together to form a biodiversity working group. So as it comes to city planning or looking at native plants for your landscape ideas or whatever it is that we can do, please partner with us. And we hope to be able to see you out and about this Earth Day weekend, and as well as any other time throughout the year. Thank you so much for this today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have any speakers? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Dana
okay.
Marie.
I just wanted to add one
You
last
do.
thing and invite my colleague Dan Rowlett, our Environmental Services Project Manager. As most of you probably know, we held our annual Goleta Earth Day event on Saturday as an actionable Beautify Goleta event, and I wanted to have Dan share with you some of the outcomes from that event.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Madam Mayor and esteemed council members, I'm very excited to be here tonight to talk a little bit about our event that happened last Saturday. It was our 4th annual Beautify Goleta Earth Day event, and it was another success. We had 62 volunteers who picked up over 380 pounds of trash. We also saw 54 vehicles drop off over 8,000 pounds of bulky items. So this continues to be a really popular event for the community. And I did want to give a shout out. Beautify Goleta was founded back in 2016 by former council member Roger Aceves. And back then it was just these free bulky item drop-off events. We actually collected 120,000 pounds before the pandemic, put us on a little pause. And since then we've expanded with volunteer cleanups. And we've had over 1,300 volunteers pick up over 13,000 pounds of trash through this program. So it's a really tremendous effort, and the Earth Day event, it's our 4th annual. It's always a favorite on people's calendars, so thank you for your support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, for those on the Zoom member who wish to speak to this item, please use the raised hand icon. I do have 2 speaker slips. Steve Woodhager. Okay, you don't want one. And then Stephanie Diaz. Yes, please. All speakers will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Stephanie Diaz, and I'm a representative of the Land Trust for Santa Barbara County. And we're excited about our proclamation. And the Land Trust really appreciates what the City of Goleta does. And we feel that Earth Day, recognizing Earth Day and holding on to it for this month is wonderful. For more than 40 years, the Land Trust has worked to conserve land, both natural resources, agricultural land, and open spaces all across our region. Protecting and restoring biodiversity is central to the work that we do. And we also like to bring long-term health to the land. We appreciate the proclamation's recognition that healthy ecosystems support the community. Protecting and restoring biodiversity is central to the work and the long-term health and resilience of the nation, the region. We appreciate the proclamation that healthy ecosystems support the community and efforts to protect native species, restore habitat, support pollinators, and expand green infrastructure, and especially your Go Green Goleta is wonderful. And really, we appreciate the city's leadership and its continue to focus on practical community-based work. And we hope that we can continue to be able to coordinate with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more speakers for this item, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We can move on to the next item.
Yes, Mayor, that is item B2, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, recognizing the month as April 2026 as National Donate Life Month.
And I will be presenting that. I see Scott Burns in the audience, if you'll come up. Thank you so much for being here. We always love seeing you and love presenting this proclamation, and I will read it for the audience. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, recognizing April 2026 as National Donate Life Month. Whereas organs, eye, tissue, marrow, and blood donation are life-giving acts, recognizing worldwide as expressions of compassion to those in need, and more than 103,000 individuals nationwide and more than 23,000 in California are currently on the National Organ Transplant waiting list, and an average 17 people die each day while waiting. And whereas the need for donated organs is especially urgent in Hispanic, Latino, African American communities, and a single individual's donation of the heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, pancreas, and small intestine can save up to 8 lives, and donation of tissue can save and heal the lives of more than 75 others. Whereas organ donors saved more than 46,000 lives last year, and any person can register to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor regardless of age and medical conditions. Also, being a registered donor does not impact the quality of life-saving medical care a person receives in an emergency. And whereas California residents can sign up with the Donate Life California Donor Registry online at any time by visiting www.donatelifecalifornia.org. And whereas California residents can sign up to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor when applying for and receiving their driver license or ID cards at the California Department of Motor Vehicles, or California residents interested in saving a life through living kidney donations may visit www.livingdonationcalifornia.org. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Goleta hereby proclaims April 2026 as National Donate Life Month in the City of Goleta. And in doing so, we encourage all Californians to check yes online or when applying for and renewing their driver's license or ID card at the DMV. Approved this 21st day of April 2026, signed by myself, Paula Perotti, Mayor. So why don't you come around here and we'll get a picture, and then we'll take a picture, and if you'd like to say a few words.
Have I ever?
Here, why, no, here, you go in the middle.
I go in the middle?
Yeah, and you hold it.
I hold it. This is common.
Oh, wait, it's gotta go. Is it upside down?
This way. Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. Okay. There you go. Ready? 1,
Mayor and City Council, thank you very much for this proclamation. It'll go this weekend down into Los Angeles, where we have an annual run walk with about 20,000 people will be there to see your proclamation as it's listed with other city proclamations from the county. After it, from there, it ends up at the Goleta DMV. So people will see that the city really promotes organ donation. The DMV in Santa Barbara and Goleta are two of the top 5 or 6 DMVs in the state with the highest rate of people that sign up for organ donations. So about 98% of people that sign up do it at the DMV, and obviously having you guys make this proclamation helps the people in Goleta realize they need to do that. A couple of quick things. Right now, there's 188 people in the county of Santa Barbara on a waiting list for various organs. So that's where we're happening. We're always hoping for that. Also, I'm about 11 years ago, I was on a sailboat, and Harbor Patrol came and got me, and I ended up with a new kidney. The lady who died was a nurse at Cottage Hospital. I ended up getting a kidney from her. She also donated the other kidney, heart, liver, and lungs. Wow. So she helps 5 people doing that. So it's always nice when that happens. One thing happening about a month ago, someone died in Goleta, and they ended up donating liver, lungs, and both kidneys. So, and that's what's happening. Now, since I bring that up, I just want to mention what'll happen in about 6 months. The families or the people that got the organs will send a letter to the family of the person who is now deceased by way of Donate Life, One Legacy, so there will be no real contact, and also the family of the person who is deceased. And they may decide to talk to each other, or they may not. About a third of the time, they actually get in and have communications with each other. And obviously with myself, I've gotten to know the family of my donor very well. We have what's called a walk barbecue at Ledbetter Beach for 10 years or 11 years now, where I honor her, and we also have people coming to do it. So the almost last thing is if any of you guys ever have questions, or if people talk to you asking about questions, please reach out to me, and I will get a hold of them and talk with them and give them the advice that I've been doing this long enough that I know kind of what's going on. I'd like to introduce Victoria Brown, who's hopefully right over here, and she's not really my boss, but she does a lot of things that make my life easier.
Thank you, Scott. Madam Mayor, council persons, thank you very much for having us. We're very excited to be here. Scott is one of our best advocates and voices for organ donation, and I'm just here to support him and want to say thank you for this proclamation. It's so important to our community that we get the word out about donation. It's not something that we talk about often. So part of my job is to come and meet you where you are, and you're here at the council meeting, and you are the voice to the community. So we're so grateful, and we invite you September 19th on a Saturday from 2 to 5 to meet us at Ledbetter Beach for Scott's annual walk barbecue. He doesn't run anywhere. And we're just gonna have a great afternoon of celebrating families, the gift of life, and Scott. So if you can come join us, we appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you both so much for all you do. Thank you. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, for those of you on the Zoom webinar, please use the raised hand icon if you would like to speak to this item. Seeing none. Mayor?
Okay. Moving on to the next proclamation.
Yes, that's item B3, a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, proclaiming the month of April 2026 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Goleta.
And Council Member Carriaco will now present this.
Good evening.
So I'm proud to read this proclamation. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, proclaiming the month of April 2026 as Fair Housing Month. Whereas April is recognized nationally as Fair Housing Month, commemorating the passage of the Fair Housing Act of 1968 and reaffirming the right of all people to obtain housing free from discrimination. And whereas fair housing protections help ensure that individuals and families are not denied housing opportunities based on race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, national origin, or other protected characteristics under federal and state law. And whereas the City of Goleta's effort toward advancing equity in housing by partnering with the City of Santa Barbara's rental housing mediation program for more than 20 years, educating the community and providing vital landlord-tenant mediation services that promote communication, resolve disputes, and prevent unnecessary evictions that can lead to homelessness. And whereas the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara plays a critical role in administering rental assistance programs and increasing access to affordable housing for low-income households throughout our region, including many residents of Goleta. And whereas partner agencies, along with local social service providers and community advocates, are essential to strengthening housing stability and ensuring that all residents have the opportunity to live with dignity and security. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Goleta hereby proclaims April 2026 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Goleta and recognizes the dedicated efforts of our regional partners in advancing fair housing and preventing homelessness, and that the city encourages all residents, housing providers, and community stakeholders to uphold fair housing principles and work collaboratively to maintain Goleta as an inclusive community where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Approved this 21st day of April 2026 and signed by our Mayor, Paula Perotti. Do you want to take a picture now and then talk? Yes. Okay. So where do you want us? Over here?
Let's squeeze in a little bit. Okay, perfect. Then there you go, Chuck. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome. And then if you do the next one with everyone, please. Okay, come on this way. Yeah. And then you guys will be right in the middle. There you go, perfect. Okay. Awesome. There you go. Ready? Let me find everyone. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Big smiles. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the one in the 80s.
Which one is?
Late 80s.
Wait. Oh, that was for immigrants, right?
Thank you, Mayor Perotti and council members for this Fair Housing Proclamation. I'm Andrea Bufano, the Rental Housing Mediation Program Supervisor. It is truly an honor for me to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Rental Housing Mediation Program and Board. In support of this proclamation and joining me here today is Heather Smith, Chair of the Rental Housing Mediation Board. And there she is. And we have Rental Housing Mediation Program staff, Raymond Rango and Diana Santiago, who are our rental housing mediation specialists. We work a lot with Chuck Flax from the City of Goleta, Homeless Services Coordinator, and Lucy Graham, Senior Housing Analyst. And so I thank them all for being in attendance. The Rental Housing Mediation Board is comprised of 15 City Council-appointed mediators who volunteer their time and experience to mediate landlord-tenant disputes. We have a super high success rate and really help the parties devise amazing resolutions. The City of Santa Barbara has partnered with the City of Goleta for the provision of rental housing mediation program services since the inception of the City of Goleta. Our services include education on landlord-tenant rights and responsibilities, staff consultations, mediation services at no cost to participants. It is very important as a community that we celebrate and recognize National Fair Housing Month. As discrimination remains a persistent issue, meaningful change can only occur through education and awareness at every level of our society, beginning with our local community, and that is our purpose here today. We also have rental housing mediation program brochures and fair housing flyers available to share with the community, including contact information for filing a fair housing complaint. We would like to thank the City of Goleta and the Neighborhood Services Department and staff for their collaboration with the City of Santa Barbara and the Rental Housing Mediation Program. It is truly a pleasure to serve the residents of the City of Goleta. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any speakers? Any public speakers? Oh, please, go ahead.
Again, I'm Heather Smith. I'm the chair of the Rental Housing Mediation Board. I just wanted to commend our elected Goleta leaders for continuing to collaborate with us. Although we talk about the mediation, it's this staff behind me does a whole lot more. People are in their most difficult circumstances when they come to us. It's oftentimes an unequal playing field. We bring them together. We don't make decisions. We empower the landlord and the tenants and the participants to come up with a resolution that they can live with, and everyone leaves, maybe not happy, but there's a resolution, doesn't involve the courts. The other benefit of this program is just the name rental housing. This staff gets calls about all kinds of things. Most recently, we got a call from some residents who were burned out of an apartment, and for whatever reason, they didn't get the 800 Red Cross number. So they called Andrea for what can they do? They no longer have their house. Well, Andrea was able to connect them with the disaster action team that met them at their hotel and got them their money. So partnering with us and us partnering with Goleta really benefits all of Goleta, all society, and the empowerment and the way we make people feel and educate them, I think will serve as a kind of a wave through the community as people learn more about us and more about what you elected members are doing for the community. So thank you so much, and thanks again for having us here tonight.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers?
No speaker slips, Mayor. For those of you on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak to this item, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. I'm seeing none, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. Did we do it? We did a picture. Yeah, yeah, you forgot. Like we did. We did a lot of pictures. Okay, discussion item?
Yes, our first public hearing item
Public
is
hearing.
item C1, Annual Action Plan of Substantial Amendment to the 2025-2029 Consolidated Plan for the Community Development Block Grant CDBG Program and designate the city manager as a certifying officer for environmental reviews pursuant to 24 Code of Federal Regulations, CFR Part 58.
Thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing, so see how we're going to do this. We are going to, where did it go? Hang on. Yes, it's C1. And so we'll have, we'll open the public hearing and staff will make their presentation. And then council questions, public testimony from the public, staff responses, if there's any questions, more council questions from the public or staff, and staff can answer. I will then close the public testimony portion of the hearing, council deliberation, close the public hearing, and entertain a motion. Thank you. Ms. Plummer, are you going to kick this off?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Members of the council, tonight we're here to consider a substantial amendment to our 2025-29 consolidated plan for the Community Development Block Grant and discuss our action plan for 2026-2027. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our Senior Management Analyst, Cassidy Lair, to take you through all the details.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Plummer. So for tonight, we'll be doing a public hearing, and tonight's goal is to solicit public comments for both the substantial amendment to the 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan and the 2026 to 2027 action plan. And these are related to our community development block grant funds. And just a bit of background on that, we have received an annual allocation as an entitlement community since 2004. And this is funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And with that, there are quite a few plans that are required as part of this funding. So there is a 5-year consolidated plan, which guides the 5-year planning period on how we spend the funds and what are our goals with it. And then each year there is an annual action plan. And the annual action plan guides that funding every year. And then there is also a citizen participation plan, and the citizen participation plan guides how we involve our citizens in the policies that we make with this funding. When we originally developed the goals and plans, we did partner with the County of Santa Barbara, the cities of Lompoc and Santa Maria for a needs assessment, community outreach, and community needs survey. We did hold in-person and virtual community workshops on the needs. And for Galida's funding in particular, our focus is on non-housing community development activities with this funding, and that is partially because our allocation is so small. It's roughly anywhere from $100,000 to $300,000 each year, and generally speaking, it's not even eligible to be used for housing activities. Part of the goals, the consolidated plan goals, and what we're seeking to amend is public services. So for public services, the original goal is to provide low and moderate income youth, seniors, and residents with special needs with a range of public services. What we're looking to do is for year 2 through year 5, we're looking at shifting those resources to capital improvements. So capital improvements would have an increase of $192,000, and that is for the remaining 4-year period. And then public services, it's still a goal on the plan, but it'd only be effective for year 1. The allocations remain unchanged. Each year it varies year to year on what we get. At the time of publication of the draft plans, we didn't have our allocation, but we did actually receive it right after it was posted, of course, but it was about $300,000 this year. So with the amended consolidated plan, that changes what we would put for our 2026 to 27 annual action plan. So this is through program year 26-27, which is aligned with the city's fiscal year of July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027. So with that, we'd be looking at budgeting 80% of the funds to ADA projects at the Goleta Valley Center pickleball courts, and the remainder of that funds would be going towards planning administration. And this would cover things associated with the capital projects such as the NEPA environmental review, labor compliance, and the general planning document. So that is still a requirement, and there are still costs associated with that. So with that, the recommendations that staff are bringing forth is to conduct a public hearing to receive public input regarding the draft 2026 to 2027 action plan and substantial amendment to the 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan. we'd like to adopt the 26 to 27 annual action plan and substantial amendment to the 2025-2029 consolidated plan, and authorize the city manager or designee to submit the adopted plans to U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, incorporating all public comments received through the close of the public review period and any revisions requested by council prior to submission. And with that, we have not received any public comments to date, but if we do, we will respond to each public comment that we get. The third recommendation is to authorize the city manager or designee to execute all necessary grant agreements, certifications, and related documents required by HUD for the administration of the CDBG 2026 to 2027 program year, and authorize the appropriation of the 2026 to 2027 Community Development Block Grant Program funds of $302,724 as described in the fiscal impact section. And the final recommendation is it's a requirement for HUD funds to adopt a resolution designating the city manager as a certifying officer for purposes of the National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA, and 24 Code of Federal Regulations, Part 58, and authorizing the city manager to carry out and complete the environmental review process and execute all related certifications and documents required for HUD-assisted projects, subject to 24 CFR Part 58. And that is a requirement with HUD funding. With federal funding, NEPA applies, and that's the 24 CFR Part 58. That is the implementing regulations for HUD for this program.
Okay. Are you open to questions at this
Yes.
point? Okay. Questions from council? Oh, Councilman Carriaco.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, at first blush, without really diving into the details, this seems to be kind of a challenging recommendation, because it seems like you're basically taking money away from services and plugging it into public infrastructure. When you look more closely, what you see is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, we're trying to reallocate resources that don't have restrictions like the general fund and use those to fill the hole created by some of the restrictions on the public dollars through the CDBG program that used to be distributed by us through a grant-making process for public services. So we're basically, what we're really doing here, if I'm understanding correctly, is we're backfilling those resources with general fund resources, and then general fund resources, which we could have used for things like the pickleball courts, instead are going to support these same types of services for youth and seniors. Do I have that basically correct?
Yes. So the intent with the recommendations with the shifting of the funds was partly because of the restrictions associated with federal funding and the city's existing obligations for the city grant program. So we do currently offer public service grants through that program. And there still is the need for the capital project funds. That's still a need with the city. So it's more of resource allocation. There is a significant subrecipient monitoring that comes with all these federal regulations. And particularly, there's quite a few that have come out, and there's guidance changing quite frequently. So with that, we are responsible for all subrecipients with that funds. So anything that applies to us would apply to them.
Okay, thank you. I mean, it seems like the model we're going towards is actually a little bit similar to what the city of Santa Barbara does with their Community Development and Human Services Commission, where they take what they call human services funds, which is really City of Santa Barbara General Fund, and they combine that with CDBG funding, and they use that to meet their first, second, and third priority needs. So thank you for helping to clarify that for me and perhaps for any members of the public that might look at this and otherwise say, why are you taking CDBG away from services for seniors and putting it into pickleball facilities? So thank you. I think that really, really helps me.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thank you. That clarified several of my questions, so thank you for that. And then, so just to be clear, this adjustment would impact the, apply So I guess there would be sort of a shifting of funds, and then that would be in effect for the next funding cycle. Is that correct, for the city's process?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith, yes. So for the current process that we're in, our subrecipients for the CDBG program have received their funding. We did not release a notice of funding availability for the CDBG program because of the challenges that we were experiencing this current fiscal year for program year that starts July 1. So for the next cycle, we did not release a notice of funding availability. We did, however, for the city grant program. The city grant program process has roughly concluded, and we're getting ready to bring those recommendations forward to City Council. As we prepare for the following year, we'll be bringing a recommendation forward to the Human Service Committee to consider adding funding to the city grant program and potentially increasing the threshold to that grant process to allow for this modification. So that will be staff's recommendation going to the Human Service Committee to then come forward to council as we prepare for the next grant cycle for the city grant process.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Those are my questions.
I just want to thank Councilmember Carriaco for bringing that up because I had the same questions, and I'm glad it was clarified what the process is now at this point and what we're doing. Because at first blush, as you said, it looks like, oh my gosh, we're taking money away. What are we doing? So thank you. I totally understand now the process. So thank you for that. Okay, so do we have any other questions? We can go to the public. Councilmember Kasdan?
Yeah, I guess I would just observe that when this was presented to the former recipients, they appreciated what this would do because there were so many restrictions on the use of the funds, how you could use it, who could receive it, and so forth. And so it was done in concert with their interests or preferences.
That's good to know that they're aware. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any speakers?
Madam Maker, I have no speaker slips. For those of you on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak to this item, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. I'm seeing none, Mayor.
Okay. So would we like to go into the deliberation or any other speakers? No speakers. Then I will close public testimony and entertain a motion, or if you want to go into deliberation. Motion? Who would like to make a motion?
I would move approval. I'll go through the items here.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Ms. LaAire did read recommendations A through E in the record, and because of the particulars of this item, I'd be comfortable if City Council wanted to move staff's recommendations item A through E for this one.
Great.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing and roll call vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, please lock in your votes. Councilmember Reyes Martin.
Aye.
Councilmember Carriaco.
Aye.
Councilmember Kasdan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tempore Smith.
Yes.
And Mayor Perotti.
Aye. Ayes have it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on.
That'll be item C2, annual adjustment for user fees and charges for fiscal year 2026-27.
Okay. This also is a public hearing, so we'll do the same format. So I'm going to open the public hearing and then staff will make their presentation.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members.
Good evening.
And tonight we have the user fees and charges update for 26-27, fiscal year 26-27. Some background on user fees. User fees are charges for services or regulatory fees, such as planning services, permits, licenses, and even library fees. They all started with, in this particular set of fees, in 21-22, we had, or more like earlier in 2021, a cost allocation plan, where you derive how you're going to allocate the cost of finance, general government, and incorporate your operating programs like planning and public works. And from there, you develop rates, and then the next step is you have a user fee study, which what are the services we actually need to charge for. So we'll be conducting a new one in 26 and 27, fiscal year 26-27. Fees should recover the costs, but not charging more than the cost of providing the service. And a public notice was released in the prior 2 weeks. In this particular year, the CPI increase is 3.2%, and that is ideally to help keep up with, ideally, inflation. And this is an annual average, not necessarily like a March to March CPI. So I'll be going through each section of the user fee with majority of the recommendations, and then we can go over questions at the end. In the finance and administrative section, business license had items such as just updating the name, simply because we would want to incorporate the state certified or non-state certified aspects of the massage categories. Adding a hearing request fees, as the department realized, we too will be part of those processes. And introducing single-day vendor permits, and the umbrella component of that to help incorporate a different version of conducting business. In neighborhood services, the recommendation is actually not to increase with the CPI inflation factor, so that it ideally encourages community use, but also neighborhood services, a new NEPA environmental review fee for costs associated with that particular review. For the Goleta Community Center, a similar recommendation to not increase fees by the CPI, considering the first full year was completed, so the department is still assessing, what's the customer use compared with the price. And in doing so, they recommend a Sunday package to encourage events, simply because Sunday needs a little bit more attraction. And additional fees such as the exhibitor fee with a minimum and maximum range for city-ran events, and other fees just to cover the administrative costs of updating the contracts within their software. Again, with library, no CPI increase, especially as it relates to the relocation to the Library Express. So we don't want to discourage it, given the renovation. And other aspects of adding a fee is simply, it can happen just because of the software that is being used. So in this case, the software incorporates teen books. So now the recommendation is a fee associated with that, whereas before, the software didn't necessarily split it out in that sense. On to planning, there are 2 new LUPs, one from a generic or a general deposit, but also one with projects using objective design standards. And in addition, a public art fee, but to clarify, it is not a per hearing fee, it's a per hearing process. But with the public art fee, we've added to our subsidy table that for city fund city-owned projects, the fee is waived. For public works, which my understanding is we might go into more detail later in the evening. But for encroachment permits, there's no CPI increase due to it simply just being a new fee. And last year, it was already a relatively higher fee as it was established last year. And the same with a basic encroachment permit application fee. And with user fees, sometimes it can be a description change, a whole new addition, or the fee wasn't quite fitting. So for the new replacement commercial driveways or major and minor fees, the department recommended a true-up, if you will, as it may not have been capturing enough of the cost to perform the service. But for additional fees within the encroachment, public works section, replacement of residential driveways, sidewalks, curb and gutters, along with a description, are being incorporated now. And from that, you'll see that a trench fee section was eliminated, but with the replacement of a more categorized fees. And with building, various items such as a plans duplication request from, depending on how many plans are needed per professional group that is requesting a plan. The code enforcement violation, doubling the fees, acts more on the penalty side. And then mechanical fees strictly related to heat pumps. Again, this helps with the related subsidy program that when you're looking in the software, it's ideally easier to trace these particular fees simply because the fee is charged as described. And finally, the Goleta train station, although it is opening in a couple months, the schedule was designed to mimic the community center given it has one room, so naturally room rental fees and the associated equipment fees and other fees that go with a room. I apologize, I meant to hit on plannings. I did want to mention that an example of truing up the cost, and you saw in Public Works it was a higher, but in relation to the historic preservation designation fee, the recommendation was to lower it as to attract more. As my understanding, there may have just been one this past year. So that's an example where the price might be too high. So that's where we would incorporate subsidizing, and we'll be coming back with a cost recovery policy to allow a variation of the subsidies. So that was one example I wanted to clarify in the user fee schedule. That is it.
Okay, I will open it up to council questions. Questions from council? Okay, then I'm going to open up to the public, and maybe there'll be some more questions from council.
Mayor, I have no speaker slips. For those of you on the Zoom webinar, please use the raised hand icon if you wish to speak to this item. I'm seeing none, Mayor.
Okay, any speakers from the public?
No speakers from the public.
No, okay. All right, so let's see, I thought I had something. I guess a little bit of my confusion was on there was an example in here for like a driveway replacement. There's a permit needed for that? Or is it just the part that's city-owned, by the sidewalk? Just city-owned. City-owned? You're shaking your head, yes?
From the sidewalk to the street.
Okay, all right. Can you give me another example of a residential, a sewer line maybe? Would that be the property owner's responsibility on their property?
Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Mark Scheich. To answer your first question again, the public's right-of-way starts at the back of the sidewalk towards the street.
Okay.
So from there, their front yard to their house is on them. Everything the other way is the public right-of-way. Utilities, like Goleta Sanitation District, Goleta Water District, gas company, usually they maintain to the meter. And from the meter to the house is on
Okay.
the property owner. In the case of sanitation sewer, I think it goes to the trunk line. So it actually does extend back into the street to where the main sewer trunk line would be.
Okay.
Does that make, and we don't have a fee for that. That would be a trench fee because it'd be excavating, replacing their sewer is their sewer, but how they affect the road is what we're interested in.
Correct. Okay. Okay, I think that's it for me, but Councilmember Luz Reyes Martin?
Thank you. Just a comment, not a question. Thank you to staff. I think it's, very thoughtful assessment of all the different types of fees, and also my appreciation to the Finance Committee, who also reviewed this in more detail in their committee meeting.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes, and just on that note, I think it almost was discussed. I think it could be, I just wanted to flag that we did have some discussion about this question of historic preservation. And it may warrant maybe some further updating to council on sort of where we are with that ordinance. If we're not seeing requests come in, is that okay, or do we want more? So I just sort of wanted to flag that. At least for now, we're starting with this reduced fee, but it may warrant a further discussion at another time.
No questions? No. Yes, Councilmember Carriaco?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on that last point because it's an interesting one. I mean, I can think of at least one property in the city where there was a community member who was, seriously considering going to the historic committee for, either making a property a structure of merit or a historic landmark, and they were dissuaded by the fee, because it's not just for the whole process; it's just to even start the process. I'm, I guess more of a comment, and I really hope that we can do something to make it so that this won't be a barrier for people that want to preserve one of the things that's really good about the good land, which is our history. So thank you for Mayor Pro Tem for bringing that up.
And I did have a question earlier, but I got a response on the fee for public art. The way I was reading it initially was that for every time they come for a hearing on the public art that they're doing, it's $600, but that's not true. It's the $600 fee is for a complete hearing process, so that it's just a one-time fee of $600. Am I correct on that?
That is correct, to cover the whole process, not to nickel and dime each meeting.
So I was thinking if we want more public art and they have to keep coming back and paying $600, that's not going to happen. So, okay, thank you. And then I'll go back if there's no speakers on Zoom or here.
Yes, I don't have any speaker slips. For those of you on the Zoom webinar, if you wish to speak to this item, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. Seeing none.
Okay.
Mayor.
All right, so then I will close the public testimony and entertain deliberation. No, or a motion. Are you going to do a motion?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
then
happy.
I'm going to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Let's see. I'm happy to move approval to adopt resolution number 26 next in line, entitled "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, rescinding Resolution 25-12 and approving and adopting the fiscal year 2026 and to 2027 user fees and charges."
Do I have a second? Okay, second by Kasdan. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers, please lock in your votes. Councilmember Reyes Martin.
Aye.
Councilmember Kiriakou.
Aye.
Councilmember Kasdan.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tempore Smith.
Yes.
And Mayor Perotti.
Aye. Okay, oops, I don't know where I went.
It is showing as aye.
Okay, we all voted aye. Okay, thank you. We ready to continue? Should we continue? Okay. Next item.
That'll take us to item C3, proposed general plan amendment and zoning map ordinance amendment for property located at 421, 425, and 445 Pine Avenue. Case numbers 25-0007-GPA, 25-0004-ORD.
Okay, this is also a public hearing, so we'll do the same format. Except that on this one, I'm going to ask if there's any ex parte once we get started. I guess we could do it now. Councilmember Kasdan?
No, spoken to no one.
Councilmember Kiriakou?
I had some communication and a site visit prior to the initiation decision. I don't know if I need to disclose that again, but I'll
Doesn't
disclose
hurt.
it again. I received an email from an applicant representative prior to the meeting asking if I had any questions, concerns, and I just said that I did not, and that was that.
I went by the site today. I hadn't been by there in a while, so that was my only ex parte. Mayor Pro Tem?
No ex parte communication.
No ex parte communication from either.
Okay, and I think we're ready to open the public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor Perotti and council members.
Good evening.
My name is Travis Lee, and I'm the planner for the Goleta Business Park General Plan Amendment and Rezone. The project before you is located at 421, 425, and 445 Pine Avenue near Old Town. On this slide is an aerial view of the parcel in blue. The land use designation currently is general commercial, and the request is to change the general plan land use and zoning map to business park. There are differences between the two zones, but they are generally similar uses between the two. The main reason for this request is to match the general plan designation and zoning with the other parcel of the business park. Right, this is the slide. Here's what the proposed maps would look like if the requested changes are approved. So this was the general plan zoning map. It'll be IBP, and the zoning change will result from CG, general commercial, to BP, business park. City Council is a decision-making body for amendments. The Planning Commission reviewed and recommended approval on January 26, 2026. In the time since the initiation was directed to be studied by council, staff has studied the application and found the requested changes are exempt from CEQA. These are the specific general plan findings that can be made and are detailed in the staff report. And these are the specific zoning map change findings, which can be made and are detailed in the staff report.
Staff believes that all of these findings can be made and recommends that the City Council adopt the resolution approving the general plan amendment and introduce and conduct by first reading the ordinance amendment for the rezone. That concludes staff's presentation, and staff and the applicant team are available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lee. Okay, questions? Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Yes, I just wanted to confirm that the change wouldn't disrupt any current uses at the site or result in any nonconformity of any kind.
Mayor Pro Tem, through the Mayor Prodi, no, it would not. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? No? Do we have any questions from the public?
Madam Mayor, I have no speaker slips on this item. For those of you on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak to this item, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. I'm seeing no public comment for this item, Mayor.
Okay, then I will close the public testimony section and close the public testimony, council deliberation, or entertain a motion.
I'm happy to make some comments.
Excuse me?
I'm happy to make some comments if it's the right
Please
time.
do.
Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, to the applicant, I just want to say, sorry it took you a while to get you back to council, but I am glad that staff was able to get you to Planning Commission pretty quickly after your initiation. They had you at Planning Commission within I think 2 to 3 months or something. You got there pretty fast. Sorry it took a little while to find a meeting, a council meeting that worked, but we're here now and we're moving. To me, this is pretty straightforward. Like the movie with the same name. It's we're going back to the future. This was historically an R&D park. In the past, it was an R&D park. In the future, if we vote for this tonight, in the future it'll be an R&D park. So, I think what we're really looking to do here is just align the land use designation with what many of the current uses and what the future uses will be. It doesn't impact. I appreciated the question about impacting existing tenants. It wouldn't impact existing tenants. It doesn't prevent them from doing anything they're doing, but it does position the property for the future. I think we should support it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Luz Reyes-Martin.
Well, I would just say what he said. It's very straightforward. I think you can see in the map, it's just very clear where we're making a fix that makes sense. Particularly noted in the staff report, in your review of trying to figure out why it was like this to begin with, you couldn't really find a rationale for it. So it just seems pretty straightforward. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so what we have now is close the public hearing. I did that already, and entertain a motion. Who would like to do that?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Was the action read into the record?
Councilmember Kiriakou, I would handle this one via the recommendation.
Okay, so I won't just say I move A and B. A, B, and C as written. I will move that after considering the evidence presented during the public hearing, that we adopt resolution number 26 next in line, entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, approving a general plan amendment from general commercial, CG, to business park, I-BP, and adopting a notice of exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act for the general plan amendment at the 3.4 acre subject property located at 421, 425, and 445 Pine Avenue, known as Goleta Business Park, APN 071-130-048, case number 25-0007-GPA, and C, introduce and conduct first reading by title only and waive further reading of ordinance number 26 next in line, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, adopting an ordinance amendment to zoning map from general commercial, CG, to business park, BP, and adopting a notice of exemption under the California Environmental Quality Act on a 3.4 acre site located at 421, 425, and 445 Pine Avenue, known as Goleta Business Park, APN 071-130-048, case number 25-0004-ORD. Or put another way, I move A, B, and C.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Council members, please lock in your votes. Councilmember Reyes Martin,
Aye.
Councilmember Kiriakou,
Aye.
Councilmember Kasdan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tempore Smith,
Yes.
and Mayor Perotti.
Aye. It's unanimous. Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you both.
Okay, that'll bring us to our next item, item D1, ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Goleta Municipal Code to update requirements and procedures for encroachment permits.
This is the discussion item. It's not a public hearing.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Tonight, Public Works will be discussing the ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Goleta Municipal Code to update the requirements and procedures for encroachment permits. And tonight, we're still loading it, so if you give us maybe 30 more seconds. But tonight, we'll have Mark Schleich, who is our consulting development engineer, that will be presenting this item.
Multitasking is not my strength. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Tonight is the introduction and first reading of the ordinance regarding the update to Title 12 of the Goleta Municipal Code, or commonly known as road encroachments. I will do a brief presentation based on this outline. So let's get into the purpose. In review of the existing ordinance, we found that it was out of date, did not match current engineering practices, did not align with our current encroachment permit process, and most importantly, did not protect the investment the city has made in their streets. This ordinance started with the county, or started with the city when it incorporated in 2002 and was with the county prior to that. So it's 24 years old. As an example of that, when we started in 2002, we took encroachment permits over the counter, and that's what the ordinance currently reads. We now do them, both submissions and issuance, online. As you can see from this infrastructure list, it took a lot of money to build and a significant reinvestment to maintain. More specifically, the city spends about $6 million annually on maintaining their streets. And you have a robust capital program that you are constructing at the same time. Now on to the specifics of the ordinance. Most of what we did was cleanup and updating to current standards, but the most important addition was the pavement cut moratorium, and we'll talk more about that. So the moratorium applies to recently rehabilitated streets. It limits the disturbance and defined timeframes, requires additional work for proposed work, and supports pavement presentation. It also reduces the amount of construction and traffic disruptions, improves coordination between Public Works and the local utilities, and hopefully this will save taxpayers over time. Fortunately or unfortunately, you're not the first jurisdiction to do this. There are many, both north and south of you. We reviewed their moratoriums, and they aided us in developing ours. So a little bit more about the specifics of the moratorium. There's a definition called prohibition streets. So these are streets that a pavement cut will no longer be allowed on. It's prohibited. These streets are typically streets that have pavement condition index of greater than 80, or streets that have been recently constructed or repaved in the last 5 years. And this applies to all surface treatments, so just not overlays, but slurry seals, chip seals, and the like. During that time frame, encroachment permits on those streets will not be issued unless allowed by the ordinance, and I'll get a little bit more into that. And in addition to the Public Works quarterly meetings, Public Works will provide and maintain the information of these streets on their website, and I understand that it's up to date. Public Works realizes that emergency work happens and it needs to happen, and it's necessary to protect life, property, or restore utility services. And the ordinance identifies a process to handle such emergencies. As staff was working on this, this is where we got into trying to identify words, and we decided pictures were worth 1,000 of them. Engineers trying to describe things are sometimes not the easiest things to understand, I realize. This is a street that's on the screen right now that has had 3 pavement cuts, one along the middle of the road, one along the curb, and then one transfers to the road. While they did a good job of making those repairs, as you can tell, it's a rather patched work at best. We were trying to get away from that. Here's another example of street Phelps Road behind Gersh Park, where on the right side is what we'd call curb to lane line pavement restoration. This was a water line replacement that went along the road, so you don't see the beginning and the end of the patch, but basically that's what it would be, the kind of patches we'd look like for in the future. If you closely look to the left side of the road, these are age trenches. You can see that there are 2 transverse, and they're standing out. But if you zoom in really closely or look very closely under that left turn arrow, there's another trench that's rather old, and you can see how those cracks are deteriorating the pavement, thereby reducing the length of that pavement. In summary, the pavement cut moratorium ordinance is a practical step towards better infrastructure management by protecting newly paved roads, improving coordination, and the city can make smarter use of its resources while minimizing inconvenience to the public. We have also taken the time and opportunity to clean up and update the remainder of the ordinance. This is our recommendation, and thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions? Councilmember Kasdan.
I was curious about the Prohibition Streets, which, great title. So when oil and gas, other utilities, electric, when they come, they are also told, come back, in 5 years or something like that, ordinarily, unless they go through a process of appealing or whatever it's called?
Councilmember Kasdan, that's correct. But we also send out our annual pavement projects, and now that we have the 5-year, we'll send it to all utility companies in the area, letting them know that this is coming, asking them to perform any planned work that they have. It's really a coordination tool and a mechanism to get them to come out and do any projects ahead of ours. And we've contacted all those utilities prior to this.
And that's with other jurisdictions, those utilities are able to respond and plan ahead knowing so it's been successful in that way in scheduling.
That's correct. And we know emergencies occur, that's why we have that clause in there.
No, it's fabulous. I mean, I've seen other jurisdictions where it's like Sisyphus, they, dig holes and fill them in again or something. So it's great.
Do you have any other questions? Councilmember Kazian?
Oh, no, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Kyriakou?
As the resident Greek on the council, I'm touched that my colleague would reference that poor soul rolling those stone perpetually uphill. But I had a question. So, kind of dovetailing on what was just discussed, this isn't just going to be Edison and utility companies cutting our pavement up. It's also going to be developers and potentially other local governments. So can you talk a little bit about why it's important to have some of these changes in light of what's coming? Not just in the Cathedral Oaks area with some of the housing that's planned there, but the South Patterson Ag Block. I mean, we've done a lot of work on Hollister Avenue, and we've got some new roundabouts, and I think we would hate to see some cutting up of that new infrastructure. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of that?
Councilmember Kasdan, so this moratorium will, Councilmember Kyriakou, I apologize. So this will carry forward. It's not an insult. No, it's not. It's actually a compliment. This will carry forward with all projects, all jurisdictions within the region that would come and do work within our region. They'll have to follow the moratorium process. And we're just looking at protecting our assets and the investments we've made. When all is said and done with the CIP improvements that we're doing, we'll have like $150 million in assets that we've implemented, so we want to protect that. And then along with the $6 million we spend annually on paving projects.
Thank you. You just answered my next question. I'm done. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith?
Thank you. I am not a public works expert. Are there times where it may be, a single family homeowner or, other maybe smaller entity that, needs to encroach into the road?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith, I see that happening very seldom because as we discussed in the last, the fee update, most of the work is on their property. And then anything in the street or the sidewalk would typically be utilities.
Okay.
Or a city project.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about if there's any distinctions made in terms of size or scale. But from what I'm understanding, they're sort of that's not necessarily considered unless there's some kind of special appeal.
That's correct. And this is really across the board, but the residential aspect would be very seldom.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
I have a question on, there's a new road. We've just done the road, and it's just been repaved, but there's an emergency, and the utilities have to come in. When it would be their responsibility then to go back and repave it as it was, or are they doing a patch job? I mean, what do you do in an emergency, I guess?
Mayor Perotti, they would go out and do the emergency right away.
Right.
And then we would work with that company or utility to see what makes the most sense. We would like to go lane line to lane line. If there's a trench, like in the bike lane, we would take it to the lane line of the bike lane. So it really depends on where the work is done.
Okay, I see. Okay. Councilmember Kyriakou? Oh, no? Okay. Questions from the public?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have 2 speaker slips. For those of you on the Zoom webinar, please use the raised hand icon and I will call on you. Our first in-person speaker is Dr. Ingeborg Cox. And all speakers will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor,
Good to see you.
and Mayor Pro Tempore Smith. My name is Dr. Inge Cox, and I am a retired physician, but I have expertise in occupational and environmental medicine. It appears to me that, like it was stated already, that this change has not been, that the Goleta Municipal Code has not been updated for approximately 24 years. And right now it appears like we're rushing to do something very, very fast. This item was put all the way to the end of the agenda. Specifically, official notices, and I'm now considered an elderly person, should be please delivered by US mail or otherwise email, because we are not accustomed too often to communicate in different lingos. Right now, under definition 1 of the ordinance, it's confusing who is going to be the director. Is it the Public Works Director? Or is it the designee of the Public Works Director who is going to be considered the director and the one who is going to be, in essence, running this? Then, under public streets classifications, what I do not see is a mention of a cul-de-sac. A cul-de-sac, I live in a cul-de-sac. It runs approximately 1 block. It has 5 houses on one side, 5 houses on the other, so we are a total of 10 houses, and then at the end of the street, it's the entrance of Winchester 2 open space. So it's a very small, narrow street. So why has a cul-de-sac not been mentioned under the different public street classifications? Because they should be taken into consideration. And also, under permit, it states that staging within a street is expressly prohibited. How can the public do repairs or do large tree removals if the arborist is not allowed to bring in large trucks that are required to remove all the mulching that is done by the tree? In my opinion, this appears to be a contradiction. I would appreciate if that can be explained. Also, it appears that the department will require to file a plat. This is a work that is going to be paid with a permit, or am I misunderstanding something? On 120270.23 need to be reevaluated. Please think about the events of Mother Nature, like atmospheric rivers, or other events that climate change can give you, which is the applicant should not be responsible for events of Mother Nature. And here, the applicant is being shifted to paying all the repairs and all what needs to be paid. And it does not appear to be right. And also, stop work orders, please, should be all in writing and not just stating that, quote unquote, they were done, and in essence, they don't exist. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Kyriakou?
We do have one more speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. I didn't know we had one more speaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our next in-person speaker is Vic Cox.
Oh.
Good evening,
Good
council
evening.
members, mayors, friends, and my assorted acquaintances. I have basically the same kind of questions that my wife, Dr. Cox, has, but I wanted to add to the description of official notices going out. It shouldn't be just to the elderly. There are many people who live in this area who are impaired in some way, particularly for ambulatory problems and hearing sometimes, things like that. So I'd like to see a wider net cast in sending out information about this kind of a project, which is massive extensive. For years, apparently, it can happen from what I read. If I'm not correct about that, please do correct me. The other point that I wanted to make was that it wasn't clear to me from the description in the draft, at least, as to who to talk to about a problem that you might have that involved utilities and maybe your oil furnace or whatever it is. It's not clear if there's a specialist on the subject from the city or the utility or what. So a little more clarity would be welcome, in my opinion. And in my last minute, you'll be happy to hear, it appears that this affects only public projects on public property. And if I have a mistake there, I'd like that corrected now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kiriakou?
Thank you. Well, first of all, it's nice to see the Coxes here, Vic and Ingeborg. I haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to see you again. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your advocacy and your inquiry. You know, I appreciated the comment about cul-de-sacs. And, you know, because I had that kind of question too, like, okay, are there types of public streets that this doesn't apply to? I didn't see mention, for example, you know, of boulevards or a lane, but I did see alleys. But, you know, from my reading, and perhaps staff can clarify this, from my reading of the report, I think that the intention is that it would apply to any publicly owned street. Ms. Bolna, can you just clarify whether or not I have that correct?
Councilmember Kiriakou, that's correct. And we usually classify cul-de-sacs as residential streets.
Okay, thank you. And I guess the other thing that I'll say, because I appreciated the public comment about not just about questioning and getting clarity on the different types of streets and street types, but I also appreciated the comment about how fast this seems to be going. And I had that question too, and I think ultimately for myself, I know we're still kind of in questions, maybe not in deliberation yet, but when I read this report and when I hear the comments and responses to my questions and other questions from staff, the feeling that I'm imbued with is really one of urgency. These developments are coming. This construction is coming. I mean, we've had a lot of construction in the city of Goleta in the last few years, but there's going to be a lot of construction that will impact the city of Goleta that will not technically be on city property except when they need easements and ingress and egress. But you will feel that, you will see it, and if we're not careful, we're going to see some really cut up brand new streets. And we're going to have members of the public, to your question about, who am I supposed to talk to? We're going to get phone calls, we're going to get emails saying, why are you cutting up that perfectly good street? You just built it. And we'll have to say, it actually ain't us cutting it up. It's the county of Santa Barbara. It's the owners of, insert address here that's going to be changing. We're about to get a lot of new neighbors in the next few years in the good land. They won't be city residents, but they're going to be our neighbors. And there's going to be some significant impacts to our street. And so for me, the urgency of this moment and the reason why I think our public works staff was so intrepid about escalating this and moving this forward is that if we don't get paid later, we're going to have to pay later. And so I think to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And I think what we have here is a public works staff that isn't just caught up in the moment of all this construction. They're managing the biggest construction project in our city's history. It's incredibly complex. It's project layered upon project upon project. But even within that moment, they are still looking to the future. They're looking 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, 5 years ahead. Because these things are coming whether we're ready for them or not. And to me, this is just an example of foresight. That being said, I do appreciate the concern about haste. I do appreciate the concern about, in particular, about noticing. And, you know, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we can always be noticing more, and we can always be noticing better, and we should always be working to improve how we do our noticing. And so I really do appreciate that comment in particular. Thank you.
Councilmember Reyes-Martin.
Thank you. I had a comment. I wanted to thank the public works staff. You know, this issue, especially in the residential streets, has definitely been coming up in my district. We've had many of those examples of the patchwork happen in various parts of the district. I think I even recognize that first picture. I know exactly what street that is. And every time that happens, I do get comments from residents who, you know, to be fair, most residents assume if something's happening in the street, it's the city. And I get those, what are you doing? What's going on? And then when the patchwork comes on, they're like, you know, the street already needs some help and now it just looks even worse. And now that we've been able, you know, in various parts of the city, make some big investments in repavement, I've immediately had and they're not going to do that kind of patchwork stuff, right? So I definitely appreciate the thought around the moratorium to help preserve that really important work, to give us a tool to help mitigate that. Of course, if there's emergencies, that's going to happen. But it's so important. I think the last thing we would want to see are any of these, you know, newly paved streets ripped up for things that are better to be planned out with the utilities over time if it's not an emergency kind of repair. So thank you for that. And I think it really dovetails nicely with the overall plans with your 5-year pavement plan, what we talked about earlier in the meeting with the plan for next year, and making sure the utilities and all these other organizations know about this and know about the 5-year plan. And we expect them to also responsibly plan for their work so that it minimizes the effects on our streets. So thank you for that.
Councilmember Kasdan.
Thank you. I mean, I guess I would say two things. First, who should they, if they have additional questions or want clarification, where should they reach out or who should they contact?
They can go through our development team and ask further questions.
Okay, can they, before you leave, if
We
you
can
want to
provide-
get a phone
we can
number or
provide a
something
contact.
like that, we can give you a contact or an email, however you feel comfortable.
We can do that.
And I just remember, I used to live in Washington, D.C., and I remember going down this one street, 17th, which is, you know, and it would be, you know, every Tuesday they'd be digging it up again, it seemed. It was just crazy. I mean, if you live in some areas and see, and it's just it's astonishing how wasteful it feels to watch that sort of thing go on. And so I really appreciate not having figured out that there's a better way to do it. And this is going to really just help coordinate among all the potential users and just establish a regular schedule where people can sign up. I mean, I just think it's good government. So, yeah, I applaud it. Wonder how 17th Street is these days. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Thank you. I did just want to follow up on some of the comments that we received. So I don't know if staff could clarify if there is a private project, you know, something like a tree or other things happening on private property, but there's a question about, you know, staging or trucks or things in the road. Is that contemplated here?
Mayor Pro Tem Smith, yes. So we don't allow people or contractors to stage overnight. But if they're there during working hours of 8 to 5, they can be on the road, they can work there. It's really to avoid heavy equipment being staged on residential streets or collector streets.
I see. So kind of that's more of a storage, kind
That's
of longer
correct.
term. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for that clarification. And I don't know what the general practice is for stop work orders. Many that I've seen implemented seem pretty straightforward to me, but I don't know if you want to comment briefly on that.
We deliver those all in writing, so it's all handled in
Okay,
writing. It's
wonderful.
documented.
Great, thank you. Yes, and I want to say, I think, and just to add, Goleta, I think even more so maybe than even other jurisdictions, right? Goleta, other jurisdictions control, the cities control the utilities. So like the city may control or have responsibility for the water, or have responsibility for the sewer. And the city of Goleta is unique in that we don't have that. So we want to be good partners, but we also want to protect our assets. So that's also, I think, informs the city's position here as well.
I only have one. I agree with my colleagues. I'm not going to echo everything they've said, but I know that if you needed, I will speak on something that we do on a regular basis at my house. We have to have our trees trimmed, or they get too top heavy, and it's a problem. And they come and they trim them, and then a chipper will come, and I don't know if they're applying for a permit, but it's never seemed to be a problem. And we do it at least annually. So is it, whose responsibility is that would be the company that does the work?
Mayor Prodi would be the company doing the work. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. 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 All right, so somebody like to make a motion? I can support this ordinance.
Make a motion.
Okay, please do. Councilmember Kasdan.
I move that we approve ordinance number 26 next in line, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Goleta, California, amending Chapter 12.02, Title 12 of the Goleta Municipal Code regarding encroachments on public property and finding the regulations exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Council members, please lock in your votes. Councilmember Reyes Martin,
Aye.
Councilmember Kiriakou,
Aye.
Councilmember Kasdan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tempore Smith,
Yes.
and Mayor Prodi.
Aye. It's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that was our last discussion item. Do we have any council comments? I know a few of you are going away. Mayor
yeah,
Pro Tem, do you want to say something?
Yes. Councilmember Kasdan and I and staff are heading to Sacramento for the Cal Cities Conference. So we'll report back next time and to speak with our legislative officials regarding, items that fall within our legislative policy goals. So we're looking forward to that. The Finance Committee did meet and discuss the items here. I did want to ask if there's, if I have support. I don't think it's an urgent item, but I was hoping to see maybe a staff update on our historic preservation ordinance, and if there's kind of feedback on our progress, maybe if there are suggestions from staff. So maybe as a brief update item at a future meeting where maybe it's not a heavy agenda.
I would support that.
Okay, I would support it as well.
Thank you.
Well, have a good trip. Be safe. And
I'll just add a couple things. One, tomorrow is where is it? I just had it. Tomorrow is the Train to Work Employer Forum at 10 o'clock at the Hilton Garden Inn. And I encourage everyone to go and learn about what's going on with commuter rail and how people can get more involved, especially if you're an employer. And I also just want to point out, I want to thank LEAP, wonderful organization. I attended their family fiesta on Thursday, April 9th, and it was a wonderful opportunity to to meet their children's services staff and to see the families that are benefiting from all the services there. And LEAP is one of the recipients of a Goleta Child Care grant through the Santa Barbara Foundation, that we helped fund. So I just wanted to point out what a great event that was.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rosen, City Attorney, you have anything to say? No? Okay, this meeting is adjourned.